Eugene O'Brien leads through Charlie for the first time, then Paul Hinson's in second. Contact between Guy Hefford and James Cross in the battle for third. The Toyota MR2s make their way up Park Straight then. They go through the kink in the straight and down into Park Corner. And it is still Eugene O'Brien now with a bit of a lead. Paul Hinson in second, and James Cross up on the inside going into Quest Curve to get ahead of Guy Hefford. So that's a change for third position. The leaders get out of Quest Curve and go down into the gooseneck. The cars momentarily go out of our sights, then come back into it again as they drop down the hill now down to Mansfield. Look at the lead Eugene O'Brien's got already from Paul Hinson in second. James Cross is looking all over the back of him. Fourth is Hefford. Fifth there is John Wilson. He locks up into the corner. Alex Lennon was in sixth position. It's actually George Robinson up there. John Wilson was there in seventh. Then it was Clive Morfitt, but in second now is James Cross, and Paul Hinson's had an off then. So look at the lead Brian's still got, but it's Cross ahead of Hefford in the Mark 2 race for the lead. And they head up the hill now then, and now it's Guy Hefford going to get back ahead of James Cross in the place where James Cross made the pass last time. Around the outside goes Guy Hefford into Park Corner, but he couldn't make it. Two cars together as they head now through Chris Curve. Eugene O'Brien already going around the gooseneck. And down to Mansfield he goes in second, then it's James Cross. Third is Guy Hefford looking all over the back of him. Cross having to defend there. And now Robinson there in fourth. Fifth is Lennon. Then John Wilson leading the next group of cars. He is there in sixth. Ahead of Matthew Palmer. Morfitt was in front of Palmer. Then it was Paul Grimmett who was next up in the penultimate round of the Toyota MR2 Championship. A very eventful year this year has been for the championship. Starting off with drama at Brands Hatch, but ending here at Cadwell Park. Look at that slippery service flag now. You see O'Brien taking it very easy. James Cross gets sideways on that slippery service, but he's pushing hard. He's pulling away from Guy Hefford. James Cross wants to be champion. Up the hill goes O'Brien, then Cross. Look at the battle for fourth between Alex Lennon and George Robinson. George Robinson pulls out the toe. And that's the outside line for the kick, but then the inside line for Park Corner. And he looks like he's going to get the position away from Alex Lennon then. And he's through. Look at the battle though. In about 10th position. A huge gaggle of cars. And look at this then between Lennon and Robinson. Lennon's got Robinson back in fact on the inside line for Chris Curve. And now James Cross looked like he went off of the gooseneck there. All over the grass. Yes, look, you can see him just recovering there. So that's going to allow Guy Hefford to get back on his rear bumper as they head through Mansfield. And Lennon and Robinson are absolutely together as well. Then in sixth position is Morfitt. Look at Roland Wilkinson. He's clawed his way back up to eighth after making mistakes in that heat. And then it was Paul Hinson in 10th. So the recovering Paul Hinson after contact with James Cross round the Hall Bend. He's coming back. Now is that Steve Lumley possibly just going through view? Another person who struggled in the heat. All 28 cars are still running, which is good to see in the Toyota MR2s around Cadwell Park. So Eugene O'Brien through again, trying to miss that slippery surface. Then James Cross, Guy Hefford in third. Marshall's doing a great job here. Alex Lennon in fourth. George Robinson there in fifth. The two cars are together as they head out of Charlie's now onto the Park Straight. George Robinson in the slipstream. Now, what is he going to do differently to last time not to make that mistake? Well, again, he goes to the inside a bit later than before. Out of camera shot they go. And we're watching here. This is Paul Hinson coming through. And Robinson's got ahead of Alex Lennon, so change to fourth. With Paul Hinson following Roland Wilkinson through that gaggle of cars now. We just have to check when they come through what sort of position they are in. As they head around Chris Curve. Now here's Robinson and Lennon, the battle for fourth. Lennon still all over the back of George Robinson as they head down into Mansfield. And we've got Roland Wilkinson in sixth and Paul Hinson is in seventh position then. But I'm not sure if they're going to be able to make much more progress from the positions they are in now. Battle for about 12 makes its way down into Mansfield. Steve Lumley there in 19th position. He's going to try and pick one off into Mansfield. Then he may well get 18th position there. And now look at James Cross, he's really catching up with Ewan O'Brien, but Ewan O'Brien being a bit cautious on the oil. James Cross then is going to try and attempt to beat the ex-British touring car driver here around Cadwell Park. Then in third was Guy Hefford, fourth was George Robinson, fifth Alex Lennon, and then sixth should be Roland Wilkinson. No, it's Paul Henderson's got ahead of Roland Wilkinson then. And then we've got this massive battle for 8th position. It is Clive Morfitt in 8th. 9th is Matthew Palmer, and in 10th is Alex Knight. And there's Cross chasing O'Brien for the lead down into Mansfield. Can Eugene O'Brien hold on to this lead? George Robinson now getting away from Alex Lennon in the battle for 4th. Then look at this, Hinson and Roland Wilkinson absolutely together. Roland Wilkinson having a look into Mansfield, but Hinson managing to hold his line there. Still Clive Morfitt in 8th. Alex Knight coming under a bit of pressure from Paul Hudson. It was Paul Hudson there, and now where's Steve Lumley at the back of this gaggle of cars? Up and the inside he goes. The car locks up, that's in front of him there, possibly Lloyd Clarkson. And here come O'Brien and Cross then. Still a few car lengths between them. They go onto the Park Straight. Now, I wonder if that Mark II's got more power than the Mark III. Doesn't really look too much of a difference between the two of them. And then we have Guy Hefford looking to go in third. Fourth is George Robinson. Fifth is Alex Lennon. They head up the hill. Then Paul Henson getting away from Roland Wilkinson now. And then in 8th. We've got this we've got this 4-way 8-car battle then. It's the newcomer in 8th. It's Matthew Palmer, who's now made way ahead of Alex Knight. Clive Morfitt. Paul Hudson's to the back of that group. Look at Steve Lumley climbing his way up the order, getting 2 cars into Park. Ben Rowe, I think, is one of them, and the other Lloyd Clarkson, I think. So, through Gooseneck comes this battle for 8th to 11th, but locking up there was Hudson. Now, how's Steve Lumley getting on? He's got a few left to make up, and he pretty much makes him up into Mansfield. Much later on the brakes was the ex-Toyota MR2 race winner. Not sure if Steve Lumley's won a race this year. He certainly has in the past though. As O'Brien and Cross come through Charlie to another time. The 2 cars pretty close. James Cross not quite close enough to challenge still. The 2 cars head up into Park. Got some lappery soon, so that could make things more interesting than they already are. James Cross locking up there into Park. Then you see Guy Hefford getting on the brakes in 3rd. Park he goes, then Lennon and George Robinson together. Lennon's back ahead of Robinson, isn't he? They're breaking at 150 metres to go to the corner, and the leaders together. Now this is really where James Cross is this closest into Mansfield, right on the rear bumper of the Mark III Toyota MR2 of Eugene O'Brien. Then in 3rd we have Guy Hefford. Battle for 4th between Lennon and Robinson, and then 6th we have Paul Henderson. 7th is Roland Wilkinson into Mansfield. Then this battle for 8th. Is it still Matthew Palmer there? We think it is, but it's absolutely nose to tail. It's Clive Morfitt there, and all over the back of him is Alex Knight.